don't enjoy most of what I do. I don't enjoy the agency. I kind of enjoy the personal brand, but most of what I do, I hate it, bro. I don't looking at charts for crypto. I don't like looking what the Fed's doing. I don't like reading a bunch of books on entrepreneurship and in investing and how the market's moving and what's Ray Dalio doing and what's BlackRock filing for. It's boring stuff. Like I don't enjoy it, but I know that if I just work my ass off for the next 10, 20 years, I can retire at 25, 35, and then I can go follow my passions if I want.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another edition of the Truth Talk podcast. Today I'm joined with Maritz. Do you just want to introduce yourself for the people that might not know you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm Maurits. Some of you
Oh,
guys might know
Maritz.
me on social media as Maurits Neo. But yeah, I'm known as a bit of a young entrepreneur. I've been taking social media quite seriously recently, so might have come across a few clips, but a lot of people don't know that much about me just because of the nature of short form content. It's a bunch of really highly edited reels, and they see a bunch of cool clips of cars or traveling or whatever it may be. But a lot of people don't know a lot of my story or not much about me. And that's something I want to change. That's why I decided to hop on this lovely gentleman's podcast. I'd like to, talk to everyone a little bit and give a bit more information about me because it's a bit of mystery like surrounding me. A lot of people say different things. Some people think I do this, some people think I do that, and most of them are very wrong. So I'm here to clear that all up.
It's funny that you say that because I actually asked, my friends about you, and the first thing they say is, "Oh, it's the guy with the travel videos, the clips on TikTok and Instagram." And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting. I mean, he's coming on to talk about entrepreneurship and business, right?" So I guess we'll start there. Where did your entrepreneurial business or journey start?
Yeah, I mean, I started very young for most people, which is a complete blessing, and it's kind of something I stumbled into. From young, I've always liked, fast cars, and like, every kid wants to kind of dream about being an entrepreneur. I think no kid wants to grow up working like a minimum wage job. Some kids dream about being doctors or pilots and stuff. But for me, it was always like I wanted to be a business owner. Like as long as I can remember, I always, I looked up to business owners from young. I thought, these are people making crazy difference in the world, and it just seemed like the coolest lifestyle for me. Which, to be honest, we'll get into that later, but it isn't the best lifestyle being an entrepreneur always. But I started young at around 12, 13. I got really into it. And like when I said really into it, it was like all I was doing. I started reading a lot. I started, studying everything there was. And the first, like I tried a bunch of little businesses that didn't like do too well. My first real business where I made like my first 10K was actually drop shipping, which is something I never really talk about. And I didn't do for that long. But I started selling these fitness products online. It was these really gimmicky, it was like those six-pack ab simulators. And that's kind of, I started that at 13. And then I hit my first 10K, which is a crazy amount of money, especially growing up in South Africa. That's around 180,000 in local currency. So that's like really good money. And I made that just running Facebook ads on a dropshipping store. But that quickly ran dry. I didn't actually know what the hell I was doing, to be honest. I was still a complete kid. I didn't like know it very well, but the timing was very good. And at that time, Facebook ads were crazy profitable. But I ran into a lot of problems. In the end, it still ended up not being that profitable. But luckily, I'd saved up a lot of the money. I didn't reinvest it all like back into ads. I kind of always shaved off a bit of the profits. And then in early 2020, I heard about crypto, which was definitely a big moment for me. In that time, I was really connecting with a lot of other young entrepreneurs in the space. And then I got really into crypto. And a lot of people, take very diversified crypto portfolios. They take 100 different bets. But I'm very about make a few key decisions, and that's what's going to take you really far. So I first got into Bitcoin and ETH like most people do. And in terms of the timeline, this is just when I turned, it was just before I turned 14, which was in mid 2020, which was kind of during the COVID crash, which was phenomenal timing, and I definitely got lucky with some of that. But I heard about Polygon Matic, which is a coin a lot of you guys might be familiar with. It's an ETH layer two, and I saw all the problems with ETH because I got like crazy into crypto. Anything I do, I'm definitely like a bit of like I get very obsessed into things. Like I learned everything there was to know about it, and crypto I found so interesting, especially because I had so many problems like with payment processes and stuff under 18, especially in being in South Africa, and a lot of banks would always cause me trouble. So I always hated like that whole industry. And I thought, wow, crypto is really going to change things. So I got very into crypto, and especially in Polygon Matic, and I bought that when it was around 1.5 cents. It was at just over $100 million market cap, and I rode up to 15 billion in the peak of the bull market. So I hit over 100, and I sold. The full thing was 150x, but I didn't like get the top perfectly. I sold actually on the way up, so I ended up with about 110x on that, and that's kind of all the money I made drop shipping. I kind of threw into Matic and a few other coins, and that did really well for me. and I sold towards the top of the bull run because I just thought this is getting way too crazy. These valuations are like so not justified, and I saw they were kind of slowing down the printing of money, and I thought this has got to come to an end. It's like infinite money; it's not going to last
Yeah.
forever. So I didn't get too greedy, and I took my profits. It's actually I realized the top. I was in an Uber ride, and I was going to my mate's house, and the Uber started talking to me about, oh, you need to get into Dogecoin and Shiba Inu, and I just started talking with this guy, and he clearly knew nothing about crypto. Like, asked him some basic questions. He's like, yeah, I don't know. I just the numbers have been going up recently, so I think I'm gonna put my money in there. And that's when I realized, like, okay, the masses are in now. This is about to blow, and this was within like 2 weeks of the top. I literally ordered an Uber straight back home from my friend's house because I'm like, I need to sell now. I came back to my PC. I literally sold everything like at that time. And for 2 weeks, I was thinking like, maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe Bitcoin is going to 100K because it kept going up. So afterwards, I was like, yeah, maybe I missed out on so much profits, but I stuck with my decision. And then the house of cards came tumbling down very quickly after that. And I built up a lot of capital now from this crypto. And I started looking into social media lots. And I realized one of the biggest problems I had dropshipping, and I know a lot of businesses have, is running ads. Like, it's terribly complicated. It's very difficult to get things going. So I thought, okay, now I've got this capital. Crypto, isn't performing so well. And luckily, I'd taken my profits. I had a little bit left in, but like majority of my portfolio, I basically had a lot of money sitting in cash. And I'm still very young. I'm still in school at this point, and I am even now recording this. I'm 17 at this time. I sold was about 15, 16. And it's very young, and I'm still in school at this point. And I thought, okay, I have all this money saved up. What am I going to do? I don't just want to sit and do nothing. Like, I could chill off this money for a little bit. I can go buy some watches or whatever, have a good time with the money. But I'm like, bro, I'm still so young. I'm still full of energy. I'm still full of ideas. I want to do the next thing. So I took a while. I looked back. I was like, maybe I'm gonna get back into dropshipping. But I thought this is so competed now. Like, compared to what it was in like 2019, 2020, everyone was talking about dropshipping. So I thought, like, okay, no, I'm not trying to do that. The margins are so thin. So I got into an agency actually. And I did TikTok ads for a while because I realized meta ads were the thing. Like, I printed with meta ads, but now, TikTok ads, no one is running them. And I was originally actually doing TikTok organic. So literally for businesses, I would do an all-in-one service I was offering. I would make the creatives, I'd run the ads, I would grow their accounts, I would respond to messages. I was actually like an all-in-one. Like, big companies would get me on a retainer, and I would take care of everything on their short-form social media. So I'd create one piece of content, which I would just get contractors to create that. And they would go on their reels, their YouTube shorts, which a lot of them didn't have, but a lot of them had reels, YouTube shorts, and then TikTok. And that's majority of it was TikTok. And I started growing these companies' social media, and like, they saw crazy spikes in sales just because of I created the videos that I knew people would like. Like, a lot of people create advertisement on TikTok and it just sticks out like a sore thumb because it's such a casual like platform that everyone kind of creates videos that are very like, they're very casual. People just want to enjoy it scrolling. So I created actual enjoyable videos that people would like if it weren't an ad, and then it actually, like, I would boost it with ads on TikTok when they came out. But before that, it was completely organic content, and I would pull in a lot of views, and it would lead to a lot of sales for the business because they weren't like, you'll see TikTok ads even now still. It's less like that than it was in the beginning. But literally like a still photo, and it's like you're like, buy this coconut water, and it's just like a still image with some music over it. Like, that's not going to give you any sales, and it won't give you any views.
You're not going
But
to
if you
catch
create like
anyone's
a good
attention.
skit, yeah, exactly. If you create a good skit and you have like coconut water in it or something, and then at the end there's like a call to action for that, that gets way better, and it's way cheaper to get a really big audience doing that. So that was kind of what I did for a while, and I really studied the social media algorithms doing that because I wanted to give the businesses that worked with me the best possible services. So I literally learned the algorithms as well as possible. I understand, okay, what makes videos go viral? Why do some people grow? Why do some people not? Everything about hashtags, post times. I looked into all of it. Like I said, when I do something, like, I want to do it well. And then I discovered, like, okay, I know so much about social media. Let me try implement it for myself. And then I kind of, scaled my own TikTok very quickly, and then my own Instagram very quickly. And now I'm sitting at just over 400,000 followers between Instagram and TikTok, all very quickly, because I know what I'm doing now. Let me start this personal brand. And now my focus is very much away from the agency. I'm not even taking on new clients. I've still got retainers with a few things, but I'm kind of moving myself away from that because the personal brand can actually hurt the agency. Especially, I lost a few big clients, which were like makeup companies, because I had Tate's in my username, and a lot of them really didn't like that. And it brought bad attention to them. So immediately I lost out on some of my biggest clients because of the personal brand. So I realized, okay, I need to step away from this. I'm going to let the contractors and the businesses that I'm working with and are paying me every month, I'll keep them, but I want to focus on the personal brand because that is the next opportunity. It doesn't matter what anyone's telling you. If how much Iman guts you can talk about an agency. I ran an agency. It's quite difficult. This is very hard to scale. Um, Everyone you talk about the Tate or whatever they talking about, they're all going in on personal brand, and that's for a reason. Same with Alex Hormozy, same with Luke Belmar. All these guys, they're talking about different business models, about SaaS or about agencies, or about drop shipping. They're all focused on the personal brand, and it's for a reason. I really think currency is like, their future currency is just going to be attention. So you can get like people's attention, and you kind of create this niche, which for me is going to be young entrepreneurs. And I'm creating a product around that. I think that is the best possible thing, and those communities are so scalable as well because I create one piece of content, it can now be viewed 10 times or it can be viewed 10 million times. There's no additional effort. There's zero cost of replication. So every additional view I get doesn't cost me anything. Whereas I'm working with the client, I need creating new creative every time and you run ads into it, and it just becomes, the margins aren't exactly there. Whereas with a personal brand, it's phenomenal. And I recommend everyone, like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're like a chef, just record yourself, like making dishes, your journey as a chef, whatever you're doing, like you need to start making a personal brand for yourself. And within a small niche, like, I'm very much in this young entrepreneur niche because it's what I enjoy. It's what I've been doing for years. And it's all I really care about is, making money, building myself, self-development, all of this is what I enjoy. So that's what I'm going to post about. And same with you. I mean, you got your podcast going on, and your podcast is also clearly in the financial niche, etc. So that's kind of what you want to focus on. Build a personal brand for something. It can be if you're playing poker or if you're a chef or gardener, whatever it is, just build a personal brand. I think that's where my focus is now. A bit away from the agency because it's becoming more and more competed. As a lot of these big people like Iman keep promoting it, it gets more and more difficult because everyone's going for the same clients. But yeah, personal brand is definitely the move for me, and it's definitely what I'm focusing on. So that's I guess the quick version of my journey so far. And it isn't all sunflower rainbows. I've lost crazy amounts of money in crypto. I had exchanges go bankrupt, so I've literally lost insane amounts of money overnight. I wake up and it's like, months of work that I've been trading up completely gone. I've had my accounts banned. I've had clients that try to sue you. I've had everything, go wrong. It's not all sunflower and rainbows. But in the end, I've been working towards this for about 5 years now. I'm 17. I started at 12, and it's kind of all I really care about and what all my time goes into. And I couldn't want anything else more.
Awesome. Yeah, super cool story. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about the personal brand, right? I know you say, all these influencers are telling you build the agency, do the SMMA, do the SAS, right? I mean, it depends on what they're telling you to do, right? But why do you think that personal brand is so important, right? Are you trying to because it's so scalable, because you're getting access to all these audiences? Why do you think it's so important?
I mean, I think personal brand is the most important thing, because you can convert it very easily to money. But there's also some things that are more important than money. I mean, what's a dollar worth? A dollar's literally worth nothing, really. It's complete paper. Whereas attention, you can turn into dollars if you'd like, but you can get anything from an attention. I mean, it provides a bunch of benefits beyond making money. The recognition is cool. I mean, the networking is crazy. Like, I get to talk with some of the people that I would never thought about reaching out with. Some really high level people that have seen my videos, they like the content, they're curious about me, and I get to talk with some people that are levels above me and people worth tens, if not hundreds of millions that I can network with because they see, okay, this kid's crushing it on social media. What does he know? What does he do? I get a contact with guys that are levels above me, that are 30 years older than me, that have more experience in business. I get a contact with them, and you can make money from it really easily. Like, it is the way to make money. Yeah, it's super scalable. It's super enjoyable as well. You will have so much more freedom. I mean, if you run an agency, you're literally just basically working for your clients. Like, you need to get really good contractors in place. It gets very difficult. Where with your personal brand, you can switch whatever. If I all of a sudden hate business, I could switch over to something somewhat related. Say I get really into poker, which is something I love to do. Really? There'll still be a percentage of my audience that are interested in that, and I would go grow a community in playing poker, whatever it is. So a personal brand, it provides so many benefits beyond money, and all the money I make, I literally just reinvest it. Either, like, I think that's part of the reason I've snowballed so quickly to where I am, is I invested all into growing my accounts and some editors, doing cool things, recording it, getting clips, all of that. Because dollars are worthless anyway. Like, I literally invest everything I earn. If it's now investing in my own personal brand, which a lot of people don't do enough, like into crazy editors, into cameras, or whatever it is, I invest a lot into crypto because I know this year is going to be very good for crypto, and I've been positioned during this bear run perfectly. I've played it very well to what's coming now, which I know is coming, which I'm betting on coming. And I invest everything. I have a lot of equity as well. in terms of stocks, and I all funnel that into building the personal brand, building myself, building my investments. So I think personal brand is the number one thing to do, just because the nature of you can take it so many different ways, and attention is going to be more and more valuable. You see, everyone is wanting attention, and it's definitely is the currency of the future, because there's limited attention actually, and there's unlimited dollars. There's only so much attention. If you more of that you can take, the more money you'll be able to make from that, but more of everything else you'll be able to enjoy as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have another question for you. And I typically ask a lot of people on the podcast this. But what is your thoughts on passion, like working for your passion versus working for as much money as possible?
I think working for passion is what complete idiots do.
Mm.
Because so you have there's a story of the guy who wants to play guitar. So you love playing guitar. It's something you always wanted to do as a kid, and you just love playing guitar. And you start playing in subways, you build up a name for yourself, and all of a sudden you're playing in the biggest stadiums in the world. It works out for you, which 99% of people doesn't. Most people never make any money playing guitar because it's a terrible business model. How many people really want to listen to someone playing guitar? And there's only going to be a few professional guitar players in the world. So you want to play guitar, and it works out for you. You're going to end up hating it anyway, because now you get told, okay, from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, you need to play at this stadium, you need to play these songs. It doesn't matter if you're sick or you're tired, whatever. In the end, if you look at these football players, their interviews after years of playing football, the interview asked them when they were retired, do you really enjoy football? And they said, as a kid, I loved it. I wanted to do nothing more than play football. But now I get told every Wednesday and Thursday, I have to show up at this time for training. I have to play a match in front of these people. It doesn't matter if I'm sick, if I'm injured, if I don't feel like playing football. Now you have to. And when you have to do something, you never enjoy it. So in the end, it might be your passion, but in the end, you'll hate it anyway. So what the best solution to that is make a lot of money doing something you like. I don't enjoy most of what I do. I don't enjoy the agency. I kind of enjoy the personal brand, but most of what I do, I hate it, bro. I don't looking at charts for crypto. I don't like looking what the Fed's doing. I don't like reading a bunch of books on entrepreneurship and in investing and how the market's moving and what's Ray Dalio doing and what's BlackRock filing for. It's boring stuff. Like I don't enjoy it, but I know that if I just work my ass off for the next 10, 20 years, I can retire at 25, 35, and then I can go follow my passions all I want. If I've made enough money, then I don't need to stress about, spending this time making money. That I can go follow my passion. Then I can go play guitar on a beach in Mexico if I'd want to. But if I don't feel like playing guitar, then I don't have to. So if you follow your passion, it'll become your job. And no one enjoys their job. Like literally, no one enjoys their job, because when you're forced to do things, you don't want to do it. So if you follow your passion, you probably won't get to a very good position financially. If you want to play sports, you need to be insanely good. You have risk of injuries. It's a very difficult career path. It can be very lucrative, like especially with sports like football. These people earn crazy sums of money, but it is very difficult. It's so competitive. How many tennis players are really earning like crazy money? The top 50, maybe. Everyone else is, there's thousands of people competing to be in that top 50, and people really only know the top five. The Nadal, the Federer. Beyond that, these people aren't earning crazy money. Where in business, even if your business number 3,050 in a certain niche, is still earning really good money. And if you play with cards well, then you can retire early and go follow the passions all you want. So I think, work your ass off for now, while you're young, while you have the energy, while you have the determination, while your back's not sore. You can put in the hard work now, and then you can enjoy it later, and, go follow any passions you want later in life.
Yeah, yeah, super cool. And sort of, I saw on your last podcast, you went on and you were wearing a Man United shirt. I have to ask you about this. Are you a United fan?
I'm actually not. I'm a big Ronaldo fan, and it was the
Okay.
one that I believe I was wearing in that podcast was the 2007, 2008 Ronaldo jersey. So yeah, it was a very cool vintage, quite expensive vintage jersey, which I'm a big fan of Ronaldo. I like his mentality. I like kind of his brand. I think he's very smart. So yeah, I like Ronaldo. I don't like United at all, but I'm not super into like I don't live for a certain club. But I used to play quite a lot of football as a kid, and it's definitely still up there as my favorite sport. I used to play for Ajax when I was over in Holland. I was very young. I mean, I stopped playing at like 12, 13
Oh,
during COVID. But I was quite into football. I was decently good. Wasn't anything
yeah.
crazy. I wasn't like, but yeah, I love football, and I think I love sport overall. I love I think it's very similar to entrepreneurship in a lot of ways, where you do need to put in the work, and you have some kids that are very naturally talented. And I was quite talented at football. I was quite talented in business. I think as well, I can learn things very quickly. I have a couple skills that are very useful in business, but it doesn't matter if I have all the skills in the
Yeah.
world, where if you're not actually putting in the work, it doesn't matter how good of a businessman you are. It doesn't matter how good you are at selling. if you're not picking up the phone to calling, no one's going to know how good you are.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think sport is very important, and I still enjoy sport a lot. I think martial arts are very cool for every young person to get into, as well as just general training and health. But yeah, I love sports, and I'm not particularly a United fan now. I like
Okay.
Ajax Amsterdam. I support, but I'm not super into the Premier League, and I watch like the big games, but I'm not like following it like a hawk,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people put a lot of their brand identity in football. Like if their team loses, like, oh, we're lost. Oh, come on, we need to play better next week. And it's like we. I mean, those guys are like they've trained their whole lives to be on that pitch. They're fighting for their lives. All respect to them. But the fans that that you're drinking a beer at home and you feel like you're fighting on the pitch. It's like, no, not really. And they do very well to make you feel like you're part of the team. And then that's the business behind it. I think the business behind sports is very cool because they need to create like this people that think they're part of the team, that feel like they're part of the community. When in reality, they're not. I mean, literally sitting at home by yourself or with a friend or two, drinking a beer,
Watching.
like you're not fighting on the pitch. So,
Yeah.
but it's interesting. I do love sports.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that they make you have that feel that like, without the fans, the team's not possible, right? And it's almost like this entrancing, like it's almost like a connection that they build, right? It's really interesting. So I guess, going back to talking about business and everything, what's the next move for you? Are you looking to kind of stick with the personal brand and build a community off that, or are you looking to go into something else?
I've got a few projects that I'm kind of working on in the back end, but that I don't really want to put my name to so much because
Okay.
the
Yeah.
personal brand is cool for some things. And one thing I'm openly and busy building is a community. I've called the Young Wealth, and I'm trying to create community that's bigger than just me. I want to create like the number one learning platform for young people interested in self-development and finance. So I'm bringing together a bunch of different influencers under one umbrella. I'm letting them keep 100% of people they bring in. So I've kind of built this back end. It's called Young Wealth. It'll be releasing very soon. I've got like the first versions out, but there's some really cool stuff that I'm busy working on. I'm trying to create like the all-in-one learning place for young people. That's everything from networking to teaching them. There's a bunch of different teachers I'm bringing on. So the whole idea is young people who have certain skills, who know certain things, teaching other young people who want to learn. So I've got a bunch of guys that have done very well in dropshipping, much better than me, because I wouldn't be suitable to teach dropshipping. I mean, I did it years ago. I didn't make six figures just from dropshipping. So I wouldn't teach it. But I've got guys that have done crazy numbers with dropshipping that can teach you how to dropship. When I can teach you about how I think about crypto, I can teach you about agencies and how to grow social media, because that's what I'm qualified to teach. So I want to bring in a bunch of people with very particular skills to teach other young people. And not only that, I've got some cool features like networking, and you get a big community. Because a lot of the problem with a lot of these courses is they're only one person. Now, if you join Iman Gutzi's Educate, or you join Luke Belmore's Capital Club, or you join Tate's Hustlers University, you're kind of learning from one or two people, basically. But what do one or two people really have to teach? Like, I might know a lot about a few things, but I couldn't tell you about some other business models. That's when we bring in people that know what they're talking about to teach other young people. So if you have really good editors that I've got in that teach about editing, I mean, what do I know about editing? I've edited some basic shorts, but like I'm not a crazy expert at that. So I'm going to bring in guys that know what they're talking about, that can teach young people these skills and kind of create this all-in-one platform that's bigger than just me. And you also get a bigger community, because say you have this guy who has 100,000 followers and he brings in 300 people to this community. Now you've got a network of 300 people. There's probably no one that's joined that's in your city statistically. You won't have many people that are kind of, that you would be friends with out of 300 people. It's not a lot. But now if that creator has 300 people who are interested in self-development, finance, and another creator with, say, 70,000 followers joins and he brings in 200 people, and another one joins with 50,000 people and he brings in 150 people. Now all of a sudden you have a much bigger community that you can all network with, that there's probably members now that are in your city or in your area that you can, physically meet up with, go to the gym together, etc. You can have a lot more active chats. There's a lot more people that are face palms facing. Because out of just 300 people, and you're like, yeah, I'm having this payment processor problem with Stripe. How do I do this under 18? Out of the 300 people, what are the odds that one of them know how to fix that? And they're online at different times. But now if you have a network of thousands of people from all these different creators that are all kind of in the same niche of making money, self-development, now all of a sudden you have this massive network. There's going to be problems that people that know how to solve your problems. There's going to be people with skill sets you need. If you type in like, yo, I'm starting this podcast, I need someone that's really good at thumbnails and that can edit audio, then you can type that in the chat and there'll be someone out of those thousands like, yeah, I know how to make thumbnails. Let's do this together. And then he's joining your team. So that's what I want to create, just a community that's bigger than just me. A lot of people sell courses and it's literally just them, and they can teach their 50 cents on how they made 100,000 drop shipping, or they can teach a little bit about crypto. But I want to be the person that creates the network that everyone can learn from, and that I bring in qualified people that I vet, that I look at, and if they're legit, if they know what they're talking about, they can build inside Young Wealth. I let them keep all the money of anyone they bring in. That way, people are also incentivized to bring people in. So, say you have this creator with say 150,000 followers. Now they're going to promote Young Wealth, and I'm not going to take any money from them because I don't care. I can bring in enough people from my social medias if I need to. I've got my own businesses making money. I'm not going to take any of the cut of this other creator. And he's basically a part owner. So they're incentivized to promote it. They're incentivized to make the community better. And they get to control the payments on their end. So I'm not going to be, taking off everyone's audiences. I want to just build the platform. I can promote my own social medias. I can make enough money off that. And they can promote it and make the best possible products. Because now people that join to learn from me, they're not only learning from me, they're not learning what I have to say about biohacking or social media or SMMA, but they're also learning about the guy that made a bunch of money dropshipping, that knows how to edit really well, and all these other things that I can kind of create the best all-in-one community. And that's what I'm working on. It's called Young Wealth, and I think it's going to be something very big in the next couple of years. And it's kind of what has my main focus right now.
It's interesting that you're going with that model just because, I think that's one of the main problems with school, right? I mean, we're not getting experts come in to talk to us, not even in college, right? So it's interesting that that's the main business model that you're going with, right? And I kind of want to take a little bit of a sidetrack now. You speak very well, like in terms of like the way you enunciate and the way you talk. Did you like ever spend time on sort of honing in on that skill, or is that something that you just kind of had?
Of course, no, definitely. I mean, I think I've always been decently good at speaking, but like everything else, it's something I practice and study. Like I
Mm.
read a book every week. I think that's good for my vocabulary, and I'm quick to think. I've always been a bright kid. I can learn very easily, and I do phenomenally well in school. But like anything else, I've read tens, if not 20 books just on speaking. I know, when you want to take pauses, from hand movements and everything, like you want to look into how to persuade people, how to talk properly, how to talk without ums and ahs. It's very important. And I look at a lot of very good speakers like JFK, phenomenal speaker. I love him. He's one of the best public speakers that's ever been. Martin Luther King is also a phenomenal public speaker. Andrew Tate as well. These guys are phenomenal speakers. You want to learn from people that know what they're talking about. So if you just watch a bunch of them, like I've watched hours and hours of JFK talk, and he's someone that's very cool, and his story is incredible, and he was unfairly killed. I can tell you that. But he's a very very cool guy, and he can speak extremely well. So those are people I want to learn from, and if you watch a bunch of their content, you kind of pick it up subconsciously. Like anything else, it's a skill you learn. It's a very valuable skill to have because a lot of people, they can't talk very well and they do a lot of pauses and they don't know what they're doing. And it's, yeah. So basically, it was like, if you talk like that, no one's going to take you seriously. Especially because I was young, I had to, pitch meetings with people. Like, I had to learn how to dress properly. If I was looking like an actual 15, 16-year-old at the time, people are going to laugh at me. But if you show up and you're wearing a nice shirt and you're speaking properly and you're using words that interest them, you're talking about how your skills can benefit them, then you're going to be taken a bit more seriously. If I walk in there and I'm nervous, I was for my couple of minutes, I was nervous as hell, but I couldn't act like it. So if you're confident in your speaking, you're confident in how you carry yourself, you look the part, then it's going to be much easier for you to sign clients or whatever you're doing. You want to be able to talk properly and convince people.
Yeah, yeah, it's really interesting because, it's something that I struggle with as well, and I'm still trying to learn how to speak better, how to communicate better. Because if you can communicate effectively, right, there's nothing that can stop you, right? In terms of conveying your message and persuading people to do certain things, right? So I guess another thing I want to ask you about, and I know I see all the clips on Instagram and TikTok about you traveling the world and everything. What do you think about the travel lifestyle, right? The laptop lifestyle.
Overrated. I'm gonna be honest. I like traveling, and I've traveled a crazy amount, but it gets cool for a little bit, but it gets very very boring very very quickly. I like routines, to be honest. I love traveling. I love seeing the world because I think you learn a lot. But for me, the best time is always coming home, getting back into the routine, coming back to Cape Town. And for me, Cape Town's the coolest place in the world. It's super affordable. The weather's incredible. You actually have a lot of people with money here. A lot of the internet, like people, they live here and they spend part of the year here. For example, Iman and them, they often come to Cape Town, and it's just kind of the best place in the world to be. But traveling's cool until you get bored quite quickly. I mean, if you're traveling, you're seeing like the sights, and you're going to coffee shops, and you're drinking your coffee in the town square, whatever it is. And it's a good time for a little bit. but I enjoy the feeling of progress more than anything. So my best, like my happiest days are when I'm up, you know, 4:30. I'm in the ice bath. You know, I've gotten my deep work done. I've read my books. I've done everything, and then at the end of the day, when you have that feeling of accomplishment, when you get a lot done in a day, that's my favorite feeling. I kind of notice I'm more happy doing that than if I'm in the Maldives or if I'm in Japan. It's all very cool, and it's cool to see these different cultures, and I think I learn a lot from them. But I never feel as happy as the end of the day because I'm always knowing like, you know, I could have made some money today. I could have bettered myself a bit today. When you're traveling, you're not really in a routine, and I think routine is so important. Like I get a lot done because I have a very strict routine, and like whenever I'm home, like I'm working, I'm busy building this, you know, this dream I have. And when I'm not chasing that dream, I just I'm quite hard on myself. So I'm never really like, you know, I'll have a good time, but I won't be truly like happy. Like I'm happy when I'm working, when I'm accomplishing, when I'm chasing my dream. And I'm like, you know, I'm actually making progress. Progress to me is the best feeling. It's better than happiness. It's better than anything. When I take pride in my progress, that is like, for me, that's the best feeling. Nothing else compares.
It's interesting that you say that because that's always been sort of a dream of mine to try to go and travel the world and see all these different places to learn from it. I guess is it hard to sort of be able to work in these environments where you're, not in your, your own home?
It isn't as easy because when you're at home, you know, you're very focused. But if you're traveling, you have, you know, the Wi-Fi isn't always great, and then you know you've got like loud noises and everything. You know, and you're like when you're in your own environment, like when I'm in this room, I'm working. Like everything in my room is about work. I mean, you can even look at the posters in the back. It's like stock charts. I've got the koi stat, and I've got a poster fell down, but it's a mouse because my nickname, my friends call me Mouse, covered with money. I've got a picture of a bull and a bear there, bronze statue in the back. Everything in my environment is just, you know, about getting work done. And when you're out of that environment, it isn't as easy. For me, you can definitely do it. Like you can still take meetings, and it's quite convenient. But time zones are difficult. You know, if you're like in Japan, you've got clients in Europe, which Cape Town is in the same time zone as Europe, which is very convenient, just because it lies like, you know, on the
Mhm.
same.
Yeah.
It's just way below, like way south, but it's still in like the same latitude. So it's convenient for that. But time zones are a mission. You eat a lot of different food. You can't be like as, you know, I'm basically on a strict carnivore diet. I literally just eat
Uh,
meat and fruits. And I do a lot of biohacking, like ice bath, sauna. You know, I take my health very seriously, which isn't as easy when you're traveling because, you know, you don't like, you know, usually to the supermarket, you eat a lot out more. You don't know where everything is. When I'm in Cape Town or wherever you're at home, you know, it's easy. You know, everything is. You can be really efficient with things. You're not wasting as much time. But yeah, traveling's super cool, and I definitely want to travel a lot more, especially now when I finish school this year. I'll, you know, be traveling a lot more, and I won't have to be, you know, in certain places at certain times. And
yeah.
it's cool to be free. The coolest feeling is the freedom.
Yeah, yeah. And I wanted to ask you about school as well. So when you started this whole thing, how did, the people around you react in terms of like your friends, even your family? Like how was that reaction in terms of like for your entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I mean, I've always, you know, my friends are kind of entrepreneurs as well. They do very different things to me. But a good friend of mine, he buys and sells cars and Rolexes. And he actually rented his G-Wagons to Iman. That's kind of how that relationship with, you know, I'm good friends with him and he rented it to them. But he does cars and he does very well as well, same age as me. I've got another friend that does a lot of watches as well and sneakers. You know, they all kind of do the entrepreneur stuff in their own rights. I'm a lot of the online type of money, but I have a small, very small circle. At school, I don't talk to anyone really about money, but I'm sure, you know, or business, but I'm sure they see it on social media. Some of the teachers often ask me about it, but you know, I don't need I don't need to impress them. I don't need to tell anything to them. But yeah, I'm sure they see the social media stuff. But I keep to my circle and I kind of surround myself with people that are kind of on the same level, you know, that are doing well, that are, you know, developing themselves in their own right. If it's now they're really into sports or gym, like, you know, I respect that a lot. It doesn't have to be money, but people that are just pursuing excellence are the people that, you know, I want around me and that are kind of attracted to my energy as well, because that's all I'm doing is I'm trying to pursue excellence or whatever it is. And for me, that's a lot financially. But a lot of the other people have that in terms of or whatever else, maybe gym or sport or very big on social media whatever it is, I respect people that are, you know, putting in work and chasing something. But yeah, school is. I'm a normal kid. Like I still go to school. I do very well in school because I can absorb information extremely quickly. It's like, you know, morning of an exam, I can read through the textbook and I'll get a high 90. I have academic honors. I have basically perfect grades. Alongside business, social media, like, you know, everything else I have going on in life, I still, do well in school. And I think there's a lot of hate on school, and high school it's quite useless in some aspects, but I think it's important in other aspects. And a lot of the whole red pill, Andrew Tate, make money online is very anti-traditional education, but it's also like, of course they are, because it's like don't go to high school, join Hustlers University
Yeah.
instead. So if I'm selling a product that like helps you whatever lose weight or something, I'm not gonna like love McDonald's or whatever it is. Like you you're helping people with an opposite problem. So it's like high school doesn't teach about making money, but I will join my course for $3,000. Um, which it's very different. I think alternative education is going to get bigger, and you see the smartest people moving towards it. People like Alex Hormozi, which is probably my favorite out of the whole online making money space. His biggest investment ever just a couple of weeks ago was in School, which is Skool, which is basically an online platform that is like a software for courses. And I think online education has become bigger and bigger. More and more people are gonna not only go traditional routes, but learn things online and learn actionable skills online, which I think is definitely going to be a move in the future. And I think every influencer is going to have some type of info product very soon. And it's such a great business model, and I think there's value for people, for the customers and the people making it. So it's destined to grow into something very big.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I know so many people who are trying to build out their course or their program or whatever it is, and just trying to grow that sort of community slash course type of business model, right? And I do think there is some value in high school, right? I think there is you need to learn the basics, right? You need to understand reading and math helps you develop, your skills in terms of thinking logically, right? But I mean, I guess I wanted to ask you, what's your next step in terms of school? Do you want to go to college? Do you want to pursue that?
I always, yeah, I for a while didn't want to go to university, but now I see the value in it. It's like a guy explains to me. I was talking with someone in Monaco actually. It was worth. I mean, he's probably close to billionaire level. He's worth hundreds of millions. And I asked him, like, I gave him my life. I told him, like, I have this much money at this age. I think by the time I go to uni at 18, I'll be here. And he says, I would still go to uni. Listen, you're bright. You can go. And I think I was always against it. I was always saying, I probably won't. It's probably a waste of time. But if I go to uni, it'd be the best unis in the world. Like I would want to go to a Harvard, a Wharton, a Princeton, a Yale. And I think not only like from the network is crazy, like you're around a bunch of other ultra successful people. Yeah, you have a lot of people that are just academically strong, like basically just nerds. They can just consume information like I can and then spit it out on the test. But you have a lot of other young people that are, very good at certain sports. You have people that have built crazy charities. You have people that have done very well. You're kind of surrounded by high performance. By definition, if you go to a Harvard, if you go to a Yale, you're surrounded by a bunch of other high performers. They only select the best of the best. They have an acceptance rate of like 5%. So by definition, you're with the best 5% of people that are already playing, which are already in like the top 5%. So you're getting the top 5% of the 5% realistically. So you're surrounded by high performance, which is definitely motivating. And it is quite expensive, but it's like getting a verified tick next to your name in real life. I mean, if I'm trying to raise money, if Mark Zuckerberg walked in to Kaya Capital to raise money for Facebook, as soon as they hear Harvard, straight away he has credibility. They know, okay, he's not just some rando. He knows what he's doing. He's clearly smart. He's clearly dedicated. If Harvard accepted him, it just adds like it's a verified tick, like in real life. And at the top circles, if you're talking at the dinner table in Saint Tropez or whatever it is, and everyone starts talking about what uni they went to, and your highest credibility is the high school degree, it just isn't going to look as good on you. So I think university is, I recently kind of looked into it more and more because now I'm at the stage, I'm in my last year of school now. I need to decide now, like, am I going to go to uni? What unis do I want to go to? And I was always thinking about going to Holland maybe, or what else. But I think the Ivy Leagues in America, there is value to it. The alumni network is crazy. I mean, if you look statistically at where most billionaires come from, Harvard Business has the most billionaires out of any school ever. And a lot of these people that are worth over 100 mil, they all basically went to top unis. A lot of them didn't finish either. And I think, honestly, I might not finish my uni either, but I'd like to go for a year and to meet people. You definitely still learn some things because the difference between university and high school is crazy. I mean, high school, you literally just have a teacher teaching you. But to be a Harvard professor, you need to have a lot more credibility. You're not just going to be Joe Schmo that just like you need to have actually know what you're talking about. A lot of them have real world experience, which is a problem with high school because your business teacher doesn't know anything about business. But if you're a Harvard professor, you're respected, you definitely did something. Like you not only studied to the highest level, but you actually did something in the field with that information. So I think Ivy Leagues are valuable. There's definitely an argument to make either way. And I think like it's tough because it also is a lot of time it takes up. But there's plenty of time for the rest of my life to make money. This is the only like 2, 3 years I would be able to attend uni. I think I'd build a lot of valuable networks, and I think I would learn things as well. And you're surrounded by different people, and it is kind of with the most high performing people in the world. So actually, I recently decided I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see if I can go to the best unis in the world, and if I get in, I don't know if I would even finish my degree because I don't want the piece of paper really. I don't think I'll ever have to work a job, and I hope I don't. I hope my businesses keep doing. I want to be the people that employs people from Harvard, but it adds credibility to your name. If you're ever trying to raise money, if you're ever trying to enter certain social like groups, you don't get in without Princeton, a Yale, or Harvard, or Wharton next to your name, and that's valuable. So I think it's only like a stage in life I can do once. I can always work on my business. I think I'm gonna live to over 100 years old. So I think I've got plenty of time to work on different things. And I've only got this opportunity now to go to the best unis in the world. And I'm gifted to be able to. Not like I'm in the position where I could, which a lot of people, they'd give up everything to be in a
Yeah.
position to even be able to go there. So I'm lucky for that, and I think I'll take the opportunity, and hopefully I'll go. The admissions process is difficult, but I've talked with admissions officers and stuff, and the fact that if you go into business uni, you actually have a business that's generating numbers and you're earning like good money every single month as a kid. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. A lot of universities want people like that because sure, my grades could go from 90s to 97s, 98s if I committed full time to school. But that's actually less important to admissions than actually like having a real business so I can show like look how much I'm making every month, look at the impact I'm having, look how much money I've generated businesses and sales, look how many members I have in this community, look what else, like look at my social medias, all of this. That's more important to a lot of admissions than upping your average from 90s to high 90s.
Yeah, for me personally, I think if I were to get, I think I'm in that 5%, that top, probably in America, top 2 or 1%, right, in terms of school. And I think I could probably, be applying to those schools. And I think that's what I'm going to do. But if I don't get into those schools, right, if I don't get into that top 5% of the 5%, I'd probably go to Europe and just do like a college there. I know that you were saying like Netherlands for you. I have, family in Spain, so I would go to Spain and do college there. But I think it's kind of the plan I had, and my parents want me to do that, so it's kind of like the goal that I have in mind. But it's interesting because the more I talk to people, they all have different opinions on it, right? A lot of the people I've had on the podcast in the past, they've said, I dropped out, or I didn't go, or whatever it was, right? It's interesting to see everyone's take on it, and I think a lot
And
of these, oh, go ahead.
I think something a lot of people need to realize is that you can do both. It's not like I need to drop out of school to start my business. Like I've had people tell me that. People like reach out to me and like, I'm dropping out of school at 16. I'm gonna focus on my business just like you did. It's like, no, I built my business
Wow.
alongside school.
Yeah.
Your school is like, you don't even have a business. You want to drop out of school, you're an idiot. Like chances are it won't work out. Like you literally like you can do it beside if you can't build a business with the hours after 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, whatever time you finish school. If you can't build a business in those hours between that and going to bed, or even in the early mornings before school, if you can't build a business, then it doesn't matter if you have an extra 8 or 10 hours per day. Like you're not going to succeed regardless. So start up your business, and if you want to drop out, if you're not hitting like 50K a month, like don't even think about it. Like shit can crumble so quickly. Most businesses do. People understand you can hit 10K a month really quickly, but to hit 100K a month or hit 500K a month with the big numbers, then you'll probably need to drop out of school. But odds are you're not even at that level yet. So people want to drop out of school and they're making 2K a month. Like you can make 2K a day and you shouldn't drop out of school. Like that's just a stupid thing to do
Yeah.
because you can do both. And I've done both. If you just stop wasting time. I mean, look at people's screen time. They tell me when to drop out of school. Tell them send your screen time. 9 hours on TikTok. It's like really drop out of TikTok and start your own
Yeah.
business. Don't drop out of school. Delete TikTok and you've got those same 9 hours you wanted from school. You've got right there. But people just want to, this, Iman Gutsi dropped out, so I'm going to drop out, or, whatever dropped out. But most of these guys, they already had functioning businesses. They had their own particular reasons. And you must see this heavy survivorship bias. For every Iman that dropped out of school, there's 100 Imans that dropped out and are now working at McDonald's because they had their business of that 5K per month and it completely went to zero. And now they're working at McDonald's or whatever it is. It is very difficult. You understand that all these people you talk about that, like, there's heavy survivorship bias. For every one you talk about, there's 100 that you don't talk about because they have no story to tell. No one knows about them because they haven't accomplished anything. So there's very heavy survivorship bias. And you see a lot of these Red Bull guys, you don't need school, do this and this. But if you just look statistically, the most successful people in the world all did very well in school. They all went to the best unis. A lot of them didn't finish the unis, but they went to them regardless. Zuckerberg didn't finish uni. Elon Musk, he went to like 3 unis and he dropped out of his last one because then they already learned what they needed to learn. They already had 2, 3 years in university. You don't know how much you've learned by then already. So it's not just about, say going to uni, getting that degree. It's the things you learn, even if you don't finish your degree, you learn incalculable things along the way. You met people along the way. You're with other high performers. A lot of these guys started unis with people they met in those schools. And I think a lot of people, especially outside America, understand the scale of how big those Ivy Leagues are. Like my high school is tiny. We have 200 kids in our whole high school, which
Wow.
is tiny. I know in American schools they're massive. You have 200 people like in a grade.
Yeah.
But we basically have 2 classes, and you have like 15 people in each class. So it's like 30 people in your in your age group, and there's like 5 age groups. So you have less than 200 people in the whole high school. I mean, the scale of those American universities, and I mean, you have thousands of people. You have whole like football stadiums just dedicated to students, and play student sports, and students are watching that. Which in South Africa there isn't as big of like a scene for that. But it's, yeah, I think you learn a
Yeah.
lot from unis, and not everyone should go to uni. Not everyone needs it. If you already know exactly what you want to do, then you might not need it. And if you don't want to, it depends what your goals are. So
Mhm.
there's not like a one size fits all. Everyone shouldn't go to uni. Everyone should go to uni, but you need to think logically. And I think if you have the opportunity to go, then take it. You don't need to finish your degree. You don't need to commit 8 years to go become a doctor. Commit 2, 3 years. Get your undergraduate in business or whatever it is, and move from there. And after here, if you really like this isn't for me, I can work on my business instead. And you already have some type of business that you build up on the side, go ahead and do it.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you say that. I'm actually from like I'm located in Houston, and my high school has over 3,000 people in it. So it's just, I mean, the scale is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, another thing that these colleges do really good is it's not really, it's really the brand name, right? Because everyone wants to go to the Harvard, so they get to pick from the best of the best, and they're doing that selection, right? So you're going with other people that are, achieving things, that they're good in school, that they at least have some sort of dedication to something. So you're building that network, right? And then, as you said, right, you have that sort of credibility to your name just because you went to the university, right? So I think that's sort of some of the benefits of going to one of these like Ivy League schools, or going to even if it is an Ivy League, the top tier schools, right? I think that there's still a lot of value in that. So I guess who do you think has influenced you the most? Has it been family? Has it been any like outside influence?
Yes, I think books have influenced me a lot as well as family. I'm super blessed. Like, I grew up from a loving household. I have both, a mom and a dad, which is already a massive advantage compared to a lot of people. And my dad ran his own business as well, so that's a massive inspiration for me. But I think I look at the most high performing people in the world. If you're Usain Bolt, who I'm never going to be a sprinter, I'm never going to the Olympics, I'll never do anything like that. But he's the best in the world at what he does, so I can learn from that. If you're JF Kennedy, one of the best speakers ever, I can learn from that. Or I look at a lot of guys like Hormozi. Iman is a massive inspiration. He's an incredible guy. Like, what he's achieved at his age, and not only the influence he has, but the actual businesses he's built. He's an incredible guy. All these guys in the Red Bull space, there's something cool about them. I like Tate. I like how he speaks. He's very good marketing. But he also, because of how good his marketing is, he also has a few downfalls. When you reach such a big influence, you're going to have people that hate you. You're going to have things taken out of context. You're going to say some general things that you don't actually really need to say just to get attention. Like
Mhm.
a lot of it is literally like, okay, let me say something crazy. People clip it up and put it on TikTok. That's why it got so big. And that's a
Mhm.
bit of a trade-off. Like, I could go say some crazy stuff and people clip up this podcast and get some views, but do I really want to say that crazy stuff? Do I want to be known for that? Like, sure, it might lead to a few more course sales, but like, what are you really doing? But I think, yeah, I have my older brother who's, a big inspiration to me, as well as family, friends as well, because I'm kind of in a network of people that are all high performers. If I get out of bed and I'm, doing nothing, I feel like a complete dickhead. Like everyone ahead of me is, they're working and they're chasing the business. And my friend sends me a text like, yo, I just bought this McLaren, and he's 17.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, for fuck's sakes, like shit, I need let
Yeah.
me buy some more. Let me, get a new watch or whatever it is. Like, I need a, keeping up with the Joneses, but in a good way that I'm like, they're working their ass off, so I am too. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think I only allow people that I would want to influence me to influence me. If I look at someone's life and it's not something I would want, if I look at say, someone's life who, they're telling me like, do this and this. Oh, why are you focused on business? Go focus on school. But, and they're like 45 and, they aren't living a life I'd want. Say, they don't have kids, they're single, they work in a dead end job. It's like, I won't want your advice because the information you have landed you up in that position. Because everyone's situations are a reflection of the information and the actions they took. And the actions you take are based on the information you have. If you know something is a good decision, most likely you'll take it. So the information you have is the most important thing determining everyone's life. That's why I read from the most successful people. I study the most successful people because they have that information which gave them that life. So if I'm learning from a person who knows nothing and they don't have a life I would want, I don't want that information because that information sold that life that they have. But if someone's an extremely high performer in anything, it's like the information and the actions they took gave them that life. So what was that information that put them in that place? I'd love to talk to them. I love to, pick their brain to why you? And I often think, why me? Like, why am I in the position I'm in? There's plenty of 17-year-olds that want money, that are equally as smart, that are equally as hungry. Why me? I think the information I had from 12, I've been reading a book every single week. I've read every single business book you can think of. I read them multiple times. I've watched every podcast. I've studied everything I could, anything I get my hands on, any interview of Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, Alex Hormozi, these very successful business people. I learned everything there is to know from them because the information they have led to the lives they've had. I love Ray Dalio. I've read all of his books. He's a billionaire investor who owns one of the biggest private hedge funds in the world. And I love learning from these people because they're extremely smart people. So if I can pick up on his attributes, I can take a little bit of this from that. I can learn, okay, what made Ronaldo so good? Why was Michael Jackson so famous? All these people you can pick up and kind of implement into your own life. Don't be a carbon copy of anyone. You see a lot of these like mini Tates. You see a lot of these mini Luke Belmonts, these mini Iman Gutsis, because they literally just only watch him. Like they're smart people. All these people I mentioned, they're extremely smart, respectable people. But if I only take in that information, it's like I'm going to be a shittier version of him. But if I take the best characteristics of Iman, I take the best characteristics of Warren Buffett, if I take the best characteristics of Usain Bolt, now all of a sudden you have a much more dynamic, a much more rounded person that's closer to who I am. I stick to who I am, but I also like learn, okay, this is what this is how he thinks about problems. There's billionaires that have entire interviews, entire books written, teaching people why they are where they are. So I think why I am, first, I need to say I'm super blessed. Like I'm lucky to be not born, say born in the middle of a township in South Africa. I'm from South Africa. I've seen poverty. Like, people that grow up in the streets, there's not equal opportunity. Like doesn't matter if they all of a sudden read the same books as me, they don't have the same access. I'm lucky I went to a private school. A lot of my first clients for my agency, there's a lot of luck in this. I'm very blessed, like undeniably. A lot of my first clients were like my friends' parents that signed them up. And the first clients are the hardest to get by far. So I'm extremely blessed that I had that opportunity to be able to build off that. But I think a lot of people waste the opportunities they do have. So like, I come from a good family, both dad and mama in my life, they're doing well for themselves as well. If I didn't have that, I would have to, I know people that are from the age of 12 had to just work in a supermarket to help ends meet. I'm so blessed I didn't have to do that. And I had the opportunity to go read those books, to go work on my business, because I can't follow those high leverage activities if I didn't have it. So I think why me? First off, I'm super blessed, and acknowledge that you are blessed too. You're born in America. You're living in a good house, like especially like growing up in South Africa, become ultra aware of how bad of a hand you can be dealt and how good of a hand we have been dealt. So I'm extremely lucky with that, and that is a complete blessing, and I want to take the maximum advantage of that blessing I possibly could. So I'm blessed, and I made a few key decisions. A lot of people have shiny object syndrome. They start drop shipping for a week. Oh, I didn't make any money. Let me try SaaS. Oh, SaaS doesn't work. Let me try email marketing. Agency. They're just chasing different things, and they're constantly making decisions. Okay, I'm gonna get into reading. Read 2 books, kind of boring. Let me get really into studying game theory. I want to get really into this, into that. You're not getting anything done. I make a few smart decisions on the other side. What's a really good habit I should get into is reading. And I've stuck to it for years since then. Okay, I see the Fed is printing a bunch of money. They're bailing out all the banks. When did they last do that? I study, 2008. What happened all of a sudden when the Fed printed a bunch of money? We had one of the craziest bull runs ever. Okay, now it's this economic disaster. It's COVID. Rates are at complete zero. It was free to loan money. And they started printing trillions of it. What's going to happen? Because I studied what happened in the past and I made a few key decisions, I'm like, crypto is going to go crazy. People are going to rotate to stocks and they're going to want more exposure to riskier things to make money. They're going to roll it all over into crypto. I got into a few projects. I didn't throw in 100 different projects. I didn't throw some into Shiba Inu, some in Dogecoin, some in Bitcoin, some in ETH. Now I was like, okay, a few things. I like Ethereum a lot, but Ethereum had some problems. So I like more? I like Matic. And I heard Vitalik talk about the importance of layer two. Vitalik Buterin is the founder of Ethereum. And if anyone knows what's going to happen to ETH, it's him. So I got super into Matic and I realized, like, well, this is going to go crazy. And I literally was so convinced in it. I kept throwing money into it. And actually, right after the board, it dipped down a bit. And I was like, well, I'm buying even more. I'm more convinced than ever. So a few key decisions. I wasn't like, oh, okay, went down, I'll sell. I'm going to find the next project. Oh, wow, what's this metaverse coin? This is super cool. Wow, they've got a picture of a dog as their profile picture. That's what people think. Like, they just throw money into random things. I made a few key decisions in business, in my investments, in terms of my daily life. A few smart decisions will take you further than anything. I make a few smart decisions, and the rest is all routine. I know I'm going to have to read every day. I know I'm going to have to work every day. I know I'm going to have to, take an ice bath every day, eat healthily every day. These aren't decisions for me, bro. They're like, I have to do this every single day. And, there's days will fail. Of course, I'm not a robot. Like, of course, some days I'm going to not want to take an ice bath. It's miserable. Some days I'm completely tired. I don't feel like, doing my work. But 99% of the time, I push myself through it because I know if I was able to do it yesterday, I can do it today. And it kind of there's that one Morpheus speech at the second Matrix, I believe, and he says, "I'm not confident because I know what's ahead of me. I don't know what's ahead of me. I'm confident because I know what I've done in the past. So I know, okay, that morning I really didn't feel like doing it, and I did it anyway. So I can do the same today. So if you're confident, because I know what I've gone through and I know the path behind me, that way I'm confident in my future. I'm so sure I'll make it. Like I can guarantee, I think I'll be worth hundreds of millions. And by that time, by inflation, I think I'll be a billionaire. And I have plenty of time to do that. I have plenty of time to prove myself right. And I know I'm on the right track. And I'm confident in myself because I knew I grew from zero to where I am now pretty quickly. Say I keep that same trajectory, or even if I slow down a bit, which everyone probably will. You don't, scale from 0 to 10K as quickly as you go from 10 to 100 and from 100 to a million a month. But I know I'm on track and I'm confident because of what I've already achieved, of what I'll achieve in the future. So I think a lot of people need to think like that. Like, look how many things you're already doing right. Look at you, you're already with your podcast, you're already busy on things. Most people are busy on Pornhub right now and watching Fortnite videos. And you're doing work. And so that's why, I'm confident in myself because of what I've already done and the things I've already accomplished. That's why I know I can, whatever future problems I'm facing, I know I can face them as well because I've faced more difficult things in my past. So I like doing difficult things because it proves to me that in the future, I can do difficult things.
So a couple points on that, like going back to what you were talking about with, looking at these super successful people. That's part of the reason that I started this podcast, right? I wanted to get to a point where I could bring on these, people, even if they aren't as successful as they want to be. I still want to interview you because I can learn from you, right? I can learn from anything. Like I'm 17, like I like to think that I don't know anything yet, right? I have to keep learning and keep trying to have that like learning mindset to keep growing. And that's part of the reason that I did start the podcast. And it's interesting that you say, because I know the people that are, on TikTok. I know the people who are, they're not doing anything productive. And it's like, I know you can do it and they all can. It's just a matter of just sitting down and actually going for it, right? And I've been in those loops of shiny object syndrome, right? Where you're like, oh, I want to do this, and then e-commerce, and then I think it's a very bad habit, and I think it really affects a lot of entrepreneurs in particular, right? The sort of drive that you have to try something new, right? So that's one thing that I want to ask you, right? Do you think that building a skill stack, I don't know if you've heard that term before, like sort of building out, multiple different skills at a above average level, or trying to focus on one skill, being a specialist, is that something that you prefer to at first starting out, right?
I think you need to become a specialist from anything below 30K a month, and then you get very generalistic. If you look at the best CEOs, Elon Musk, all these guys, or Jeff Bezos, they got very specialistic in the beginning. They just learned one thing how to do it. Okay, Amazon, selling products online. That's all they did. They started off with books, and that's all they did. Literally learn one thing, but all of a sudden, when you've got employees under you, and you're not only doing Amazon, not only does online things, but they own web services, they own streaming platforms, they own cybersecurity platforms. All of a sudden, Jeff Bezos needs to manage all of that. He needs to be good with people. He needs to be good with numbers. He understand the market conditions. He understand the laws behind stock buybacks and everything that he's doing. So in the beginning, you be very specialistic. All I did in my dropshipping was, okay, I need to learn how to do this and this and this. And when I realized how business really worked later, I got very specialistic in how do the algorithms work? How can I get people views that lead to sales? That's all I did. That's all I knew how to do was getting views that would lead businesses to sales, would make them money, and they would pay me money. So that's all I got good at. And then after you get very good at something, you need to become more generalistic. Now that I've got contractors and I've got employees working for me, I need to be able to manage people. I need to be able to manage my own time, but I also need to understand, what are these people actually doing? I need to understand the basics of editing that my editors are doing. I need to understand the basic of running ads, which my, the contractors are doing for me. So you need to understand a lot of everything. And now I've become very generalistic because I need to understand every component of my business. I need to understand the investments as well as the people. I need to understand the personal brand. I need to understand the algorithms. I need to understand all these different things because they all are important now. I need to manage my investments, my employees, my personal brand, my businesses, school. Now I'm very generalistic. But to get from 0 to 1, get very specific something. Become the best copywriter for doctors, or best at running ads for agencies that are working with gaming companies. Narrow down till you can be the best at something. You need to create some type of selling point. Either you're the best, you're the cheapest, you're the quickest. So if you're the cheapest editor, you should just like $5, I'll make you any video. And and you get some guy in Nepal to make it for $3 and you keep it $2. It's very low margins, but that's your selling point. You're the cheapest, you're the quickest, you get it done within 2 hours of them sending you the footage, you send it back completely edited. Probably won't be the best. It's better to pick a niche where you're the best editor. You send me the footage within 1 day, you can do it quick and good because they're not exclusive at all. People think you can either have quality or quantity. You can do both. If you create the best edits, that's what you're known for. I create the best short form edits for young entrepreneurs. People will hit you up and if I hear from my friend that this guy's the best, and I'll go work with him. And then now can you have this selling point and he's very specialistic. He only has that. All he can do is edit those videos very well. But now he builds a business out of it. He has editors under him. He needs to be able to do the sales. He needs to be able to manage the employees, the time. He needs meetings. He has international things. Then you become very generalistic. So I think getting from 0 to 1, become a specialist. To get from 1 to 1,000,000 and beyond, you need to become very generalistic at people, markets, finances, sales. You need to be able to do everything to get to a certain level. But I think most people that are watching this get specialistic. Something you're not at the point where you need to become generalistic. You don't need to worry about your crypto portfolio when you only have $300. Like don't get into crypto. Leave it alone for now. Build a business that brings you cash flow. Use that cash flow, invest back into the business. Then you can start worrying about investments and other things. Because a lot of these guys, some problem I like to talk on quickly is I get all these like, should I get into Bitcoin? And then they're like, okay, like tell me about your situation a bit. Yeah, I've saved up $250 of pocket money, and I want to buy Bitcoin. Like, do you think it's a good time? Now let me think logically. Say Bitcoin's at 40,000 right now. Say it hits all the way, we go to 120,000, 3x. We have the craziest bull run. We double our last all-time high at 60,000. Everything goes well. Wow, your $250 is now $750. You've made $500 profit from all of that. Now, $500 isn't very good. If you had built your business, probably don't get into Bitcoin. If you're getting into that, get into lower cap coins, riskier. But if you have such little money, then you need to be able to take some more risk. Build a business instead. Once you have, I think, over 5K, start getting into crypto. If you have anything below 5K, it's a bit meaningless. Invest in yourself. Go buy some books. Go buy some online courses. I joined a bunch of courses when I was young, and I think I learned a lot from it. Choose a few good things. Learn from people that are in positions you want to be like. Go ahead and buy courses from Iman, from Belma, whatever it is, whoever you look up to, and you think you could learn something from. Buy it. I promise you, it's worth the value. But there's also plenty of free content. Go learn from YouTube. Go learn from all these guys. Invest in yourself. Buy books. Buy good food. Buy good water, and then work on your business. And once you have cash flow, once you're making a couple $1,000s every month, shave off a bit of the profit. Don't invest it all back in the business because the business could go to zero. So put some into equities, buy some tech stocks, buy some gold, buy some Bitcoin, whatever it is, whatever your risk tolerance is, shave some profits off and then get into it. But don't go buy $250 worth of Bitcoin thinking you're this crazy trader. Bro, even if everything goes perfectly, you bought it and it only goes up from now. And we have the craziest bull run. We hit 120K, you've made $500. Like, congratulations. And it probably took you 18 months to get there. So what are you doing? You could have been working minimum wage, you would have earned 100 times that. So that's not a smart thing to do at all. So I think build a business, get cash flow, then get into crypto investments or whatever else you want to do. Just build a cash flow business first. Agency is great. I recommend everyone start some type of agency, good at something. At the same time, build your personal brand. And a lot of what I teach inside my community is what I call kind of this trifecta, the blueprint, which is first thing you want to do, build a business, build some type of cash flow business. I mean, agency, whatever it is, paying your resources online, learn how to do it. Second, take this money you're making from your business and get into a little bit of investments. Once you've hit 5K, in your bank account, start looking into some investments. And third is build a personal brand while doing it. Record yourself. Day 3 of starting my agency. Record this. Record your journey. It'd be super cool to look back on when you're younger. I wish I had, I started recording myself like 16, 15 even. But bro, if I had me at 12, that would have been so much more badass. Like it would have been like Edis would have been even better if
Yeah.
I started then. So I think it's very cool to start recording yourself early. Just be like, honestly, share your journey. Like, I'm reading this book today. This is what I've learned. Okay, today I'm going to take my first cold shower. And record your journey. Record your journey for you. Building this podcast. Be like, this is what I'm doing today. Just kind of build this personal brand of you building this business. So it kind of doubles up. So, and the personal brand will help your business if you structure it correctly, which I completely didn't do because I was posting all this controversial paid stuff and whatever. It hurt my business. But if you're posting yourself like starting this editing agency and it's showing you doing edits and providing good edits, then people that follow you are going to be like, yo, I actually need some edits as well. Let me reach out to you. And then you've got to gain more clients. You're building your personal brand, which helps your business, which you can then throw back into investments and back into your personal brand. And it kind of snowballs from there. So if you focus on those three things, building your business, building your investments, and then building your personal brand, and you can do all three at the same time. Investments take barely any time. Make a few smart decisions, bet on a few things you think will happen. I believe massively in crypto. I think 2024 is going to be a great year for crypto. I think mid 2025 we'll probably see the correction down again. But it's it's a long way out to predict that. But that's kind of how I'm placing my bets. I've been in Bitcoin again. I sold out and I got back in at about 25K. And now we're sitting back at 40K. I opened a bunch of longs. I'm up crazy money on that. So then build the personal brand as well. Record like, bro, this is why I'm thinking about investing in. This is why I'm thinking about it. Let's come back in 6 months to see if I'm right. Make these videos, record them for yourself, put them out there. A lot of people don't want to show their face. They're nervous about it. I was too, but now it pays off massively. And the whole thing I like to always think about is it's cringe until it's not. Say you take like Bryce Hall or someone. Like, it's cringe when he's posting his videos until he has 1 million followers and he's earning a bunch of money from it. Then all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's not that funny anymore. Then it's all of a sudden like, oh shit, like I should be dancing my ass on TikTok or whatever. Then so it's kind of like everyone will laugh at you when you hit at 100 followers, when you have 350 followers. All of a sudden when your podcast has 100,000 subs, no one's laughing anymore.
Yeah.
So you have to go to the initial stage. It doesn't matter where you are. That first initial stage is not impressive. It's not cool, but you can't get to this stage without going through the shitty little stage first. Like you can't get to the 100K subs unless you build up from being at 35 subs and then you build up from being at 10 followers to building up to being at 10 million followers. You can't just get to that part without that part. It's a linear thing. So you need to go through the little bit of bad in the beginning. And what the good thing is when no one is seeing your content, no one can criticize it anyway. If you're posting a video and on your Instagram reels, you're recording your journey and you're recording your journey of building your agency and it gets 25 views, who cares? Only 25 people saw it anyway. So
Yeah.
build this journey. A lot of people are scared. Oh, what are my classmates going to think? What's my sister's friend going to think? Bro, shut up. Who
Doesn't
cares?
matter.
Like to get to that part anyway, you need to accept like it's cringe in the beginning until it's not. And I had that as well. Like why are you busy on your business or like whatever that's like weird or whatever you're reading and you're doing all this finance stuff when it wasn't cool. Like in 2019, there was no Tate talking about it. There was no Emon was small. No one was talking about it. It was geeky, man. No one liked it. And now all of a sudden, it's become pretty mainstream. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur for sudden. But you need to go through that stage where it's weird, it's not nice, especially in the personal brand, it's difficult because a business you can build low key. You don't need to put your face to it if you don't want to. But the personal brand, you need a face. If you don't have a face, can't build trust, you can't build and anything with the audience. So it's tough in the beginning, but it is so worth it in the end. Once you grow, you hit those stages you want to hit, it's incredible.
It's funny that you say that because, when I go to school, it's always people telling me like, oh, the business guy, you know what I mean? And I just started like a month ago, basically. So it's just, I know that eventually if I just keep posting, keep being consistent, like eventually it'll go up, right? And it's just a matter of consistency. It's a matter of work. And honestly, I'm doing it to document my journey as well, right? What I'm doing outside of business, I'm just in my life, right? So when I'm, 25 and, I have my own business making 7 figures, right? I can look back on it and be like, oh, look, this is what I was doing at 17, right? Like it's super cool just for yourself, not just for everyone, right? So
I
another thing
completely
so another thing you mentioned that I think is really interesting is sort of managing people, right? And managing multiple different aspects of the business, right? Because when we were talking about the skill stack, I think that a lot of people struggle with being a leader. Did that come naturally to you, or was that something that, again, you had to learn?
Yeah, I think I was always kind of naturally leader, just like I was kind of naturally good at speaking, but not to the level that I am now. Like
Mm.
I've always been quite extroverted. I always have known how to talk to people decently. But when it gets that top like 1% of managing people or talking, you're gonna have to learn it. Like anything else, you need the information. There's like, what don't I know about it? Often people get annoyed at leaders. Why is that? Like, okay, figure out that. I think reading the book Influence, which is one of my favorite books. It's very good at managing people, so I'd recommend to anyone. Influence is a very cool book. It's one of my favorites. But managing people is difficult because there's so many variables. With math or with markets, there's a lot of variables. With people, there's even more. You don't know if they had a bad day today. You don't know how they feel about leaders. You don't know if they like being told what to do or they hate it. Some people want all the information. If some editors, I'll tell them, okay, I want this, 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 and this. And other editors be like, bro, give me some space. Let me just like work on it, bro. I'll give you a good video. But like, you don't need to tell me what font, what size. And some people want that. They're like, I have no idea what to do. You need like, I can make a good video, but like, what do you want in it? So it's completely different people to people. Mm-hmm. So I think you need to be able to read people very quickly. Like, what type of person are you? Do you want me to be loud spoken? Do you want me to just listen to you, or do you want to be told like, you need to do this and this and this? Do I need to be breathing down your neck, or are you gonna deliver good work to me without me doing that? And you actually don't like when I'm constantly checking up on you. And some people love it. They're like, you haven't talked to me in 3 days. Like, like, is everything okay? So it's completely different person to person. So you need to be able to read people very quickly and respond accordingly. So I think you need to look into like reading people and how that all works is very important. And then being able to act accordingly. So if they like certain things or they don't like certain things, you need to act accordingly. And you can't treat it's not like a math problem. It's not all the same. 1+1 is never always 2 with people. You don't know how they feel about this. They might get annoyed if you talk about what the business is doing well, and they might get really jealous from it. Others be like, oh my God, that's crazy. I can't believe I'm doing a part of what you're making. Like, that's so cool. So it is very difficult, and people are the most difficult thing in the world. But yeah, I think learning from people that were, people like JFK, I mentioned him like 3 or 4 times as a podcast, which is quite weird. But he was very good at people. And you think he was elected president in a very competitive time in, at that time, by far the most powerful nation in the world. How do you manage that? Like, why was he so charismatic? Why do some people, like, when they walk in a room and they just have that charisma? Like, what actually is that? And like, sure, it's this like feeling and it's part of this look or whatever they have. But what actually is that? What goes into charisma? Is it the way they move? Is it the way they talk? Is it the way they smell? It's a mix of everything. And how can you replicate that? So try to be as charismatic and likable. A lot of people, you see people more likable. You don't want to be overly anything. You don't want to be overly outgoing. You don't want to be super shy either. You don't want to like, you want to kind of find that equal middle ground where you're not over obsessive, but people are difficult and no two people are the same. So you really have to be able to read people, I think, is the most important thing. And even the same person that you've read is very different on a day where they've had bad sleep and their hamster just died, or crypto's down that day. They're all in on crypto. They're not as friendly that day as the day when the market's pumping and they just had a good breakfast. So it's the most complicated thing in the world. And Principles by Ray Dalio is also a very good book. And he talks about how he manages he had a massive company, this Bridgewater, which is biggest private hedge fund in the world, and how he managed his employees. So I think I learned from those type of people and try to implement it as best as I can in my own life to a lesser degree. I'm not running the biggest hedge fund in the world like Ray Dalio, but I have people that, work for me, and I want to treat them as well as possible. I want to get the best work from them, and I want them to stick with me long term.
Cool. So you mentioned a couple books that you think are pretty interesting. I want you to give me the top 5 books to start, to try to get into business, or what skills would you recommend for someone starting out, and the top 5 books for those skills?
The best 2 books by far, my favorite book and my favorite person in all of history is Marcus Aurelius. If you ask the person I looked up to most, it's Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, and one of the fathers of Stoicism. And his story for me is the coolest story in all of history. There's no guy, doesn't matter if you're talking about Napoleon or whoever it is, Alexander Great or whatever you want to talk about, no one is as much of a badass as Marcus Aurelius is. And the quick story for those of you who don't know, he was an emperor of Rome. So he literally was the most powerful man in the world. At that time, Rome is infinitely more powerful than America is to now. They literally controlled the whole known world. It was either conquered by Rome or they paid taxes and they were Rome's bitch. Everyone bowed down to Rome, and the Roman emperor was a living god. He could point at anyone and they would instantly be killed. I mean, they could have any woman, any pleasure, any money, any object they ever desired, they could instantly get it. And Marcus Aurelius wrote a book. It's now called Meditations, but it's actually not even one book. It's a bunch of different diaries he had. And it's the only book you'll ever read. It was never meant to be published. It doesn't matter if I'm now reading like 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. He wrote this thinking, what are people going to read? What are the publishers going to think? What's my wife going to think when I'm reading this? But Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, he never meant for anyone to read. There was his own private diaries, and he's probably rolling in his grave that people are reading his own private diaries. But you hear the most powerful man in the world, and one of the most powerful people in history ever, his own things, what he's struggling with, how he's thinking. And he was extremely humble and he was a complete stoic. So he didn't care about material pleasures. He didn't want to be bathed in purple, which means like, he didn't care. At the time, the most powerful people in Roman society would wear purple because it was the most expensive thing. He was against that. He was the most powerful man in the world, and he didn't want to wear purple. He didn't want people to, address him as highness and whatever. He cared about nature, the simple things. He didn't want war. A lot of people just wanted to expand the Roman kingdom, and his time was the Pax Romana, which is like the time of peace in Rome. He's an extreme. He's probably the coolest guy in all of history. Extremely humble, extremely smart, and his son took over and was one of the worst emperors there's ever been in Rome. So a lot of the times you have very great men that have very bad sons because they're so focused on. He was a in every aspect. He was a great guy. He had people that completely betrayed them, and he wouldn't have them killed. He forgave them. He wasn't extremely greedy. He wanted to take over more. He didn't kill his kids to keep the throne for longer. And he is one of the few people, because the emperor before him didn't have any sons. So the emperor recognized him from a young boy, and they called him the truthful one. That was his nickname. And so he was not the son of the emperor. So he came from a good family, but he wasn't born with a complete spoon in his mouth. And the emperor appointed him and said, when I die, make him emperor. But he died too early, and Marcus was too young. So they appointed someone else in the meantime. And he was also a great emperor because he could have had Marcus killed because that was the guy who was going to take his throne. But instead, when Marcus was of age, the emperor that took his place in the meantime gave the throne over to Marcus, and he's the greatest emperor ever. And his meditations are literally, you get to see the thinking of the most powerful man in the world at the time, and how he faces simple things. How he doesn't want to get out of bed in the morning, all these type of things. And it is generally a book, and my favorite book. I've probably read it 5-6 times. It's amazing, but it's a very cool book, and I could talk about Marcus Aurelius for ages. I notice I have been now, but the coolest guy in history, and I recommend everyone look into Stoicism, look into Marcus Aurelius. Very, very cool. The second one, which is my favorite actionable book, and when people ask me what book to recommend, I don't immediately recommend meditations because it's it's not a mindset stuff. But The Millionaire Fast Lane by M.J. DeMarco is the best book I have ever read in terms of actionable business things. It teaches you everything about leverage, how to use time, and it's the most actionable book, and it's kind of what changed the game for me. Once I read that, I was like, so going to me into my agencies, and it's kind of helped me with throughout business. Is The Millionaire Fast Lane. It's the best book I've read. And whenever people ask me what book should I read, I always give the same answer for the couple of years. I've read that cover to cover also a few times. Phenomenal book. And it's actually every time it's someone's birthday, I give them that book. It's kind of just my favorite book ever. I'd love to meet the author one day, and hopefully I will, because I always talk about his books. But he has another book called Unscripted, which I've recently read as well, also good. But The Millionaire Fast Lane is, everyone like watching this, like right now, go to the bookstore and buy The Millionaire Fast Lane. Incredible book. The title's a bit gimmicky, but it is so good, and it teaches you like the A to Z of business. This is what not to do and what you should be doing. Very, very cool. Everything about leverage and important concepts that a lot of people are now they make very complicated. He explains it very simply. Other books I really like. I like 12 Rules for Life as well, which I have sitting here, as well as Atomic Habits. I've got a couple of books just still lying on my desk. But really, those two are my favorite ones. I've read a lot of books, and they're all quite good. But those two for me stand out above everything else by far. How Think and Grow Rich is also very good, by Napoleon Hill, which is like a basic one I read very early. One I don't like is Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is the most talked about and probably the most read self-help book there is, or finance book there is. I'm not a big fan of Robert Kiyosaki himself, but anyway, man, there's enough books, and I think not only books, people just need to actively learn more, watch more podcasts, watch more interviews, just learn from people. You don't need to read. Reading's boring. I watch a lot of podcasts from the same guys that write these books. Let me have podcasts. I'm in the gym, I'm listening to a podcast. I'm walking the dog, I'm listening to a podcast. You can absorb information not just from reading. There's plenty of ways to learn. Reading's great because people think about things more clearly when they it's easy to speak. I can just talk and I can whatever. But if I'm actually writing something, I know people are going to read it and publishers are going to read it. You want to explain things as simply as possible. So books are great. I recommend everyone just start reading a bit. But podcasts are great too, and books take a lot of time, or podcasts you kind of do on the go. But yeah, listen to audiobooks as well. And yeah, actively learn. But those two books, would be the best. And I can recommend more books if people would like. There's plenty of good ones out there, but you kind of already know all the most popular books. But those two are the ones you want to read.
Cool. Yeah, no, I've never heard about the Aurelius book, so I mean, I'll definitely check it out and take a look. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I read a whole lot, but I do have like a couple books I've read and everything. I do more like you say podcasts and looking on YouTube for information and that sort of thing because there is so much information out there. It's a matter of just going in and looking for what you need or what you want to learn, right? Um, so I guess going back to kind of like the same idea of like if you were starting from zero, right? If you were starting all over again, nothing in the bank, nothing, you're 15 years old or 17 years old, however old you are, what would you do?
I think I go back to what I kind of teach always is that trifecta of build business, invest, and build personal brand. And they all complement each other. Because if you're doing a bunch of different things individually, if you're kind of trying to build this business and invest right at the beginning, it's doing those steps. Do the business, do the investments, do the personal brand. Those three things will bring you more results than anything else. So if you just do those three like consistently, and that's always what I tell people is use that trifecta of business, investments, personal brand. It'll bring you everything you want from, say you want the status, the recognition, the personal brand will bring that. If you want, money, the business brings that. The investments brings that constant cash flow and that sense of security. So everything you're kind of longing after, those three complement each other and together, like those are the ones that will bring you the results more than anything. So I'd follow what I do. I'd build a cash flow based business. If it's now an agency or if I'm dropshipping, doesn't matter. There's plenty of good ways to make money online, but do that and record yourself doing that, take profits and invest with it. That's the way you're going to make money.
Awesome. So we've been on the podcast for I think a little bit more than an hour now. Is there, I think we should start thinking about wrapping it up. Is there any last statements or anything that you want to say for the audience watching this?
I want to say they can do it. Like everyone that's watching this, first off, you've just spent over an hour listening to me and you talk when talking about topics. And you recognize you're ahead of most people. Most people don't even have the attention span to do it. Most people are literally wasting their time right now. So first off, if you've watched this podcast, you're already winning. You're already ahead of most people. A lot of people get very, they'll look at Iman or they'll look at Mia and they'll look at Luke Belmar and they're like, yo, these guys are in their late teens, early 20s, and they're doing this. Like, bro, I'm the same age. I'm also 17 and I'm not doing that. Like, bro, like there's so much uncontrollable luck. I got started super early. It's not normal to be at this stage that I'm at the age I'm at. I'm not meant to have read this much. I'm not meant to have worked this hard. There's different, there's a bunch of different factors that played into it. I made a few key decisions. My crypto portfolio could have been gone to zero, and then I would have been at 14, 15, starting from zero, and I would not been as far as I am today. So there's luck in it. Same with, all these guys, they got lucky at some point. Yeah, they worked their arse off, but, there's God's blessings and there's luck that plays a part into it. So, you're already winning. If you listen to this, don't rush your journey. You'll get there eventually. You might not be as far as I am at this stage, or you might be ahead of me. Good for you. But it's not, you're winning anyway. You're ahead of most people. Don't rush it. Enjoy the journey. Work your ass off, and you can do it. Like it is possible for everyone. Not everyone can be rich, but anyone can be rich. So I think if you put in the work, it might take you 5 years instead of 3, or it might take you 10 years instead of 5. Whatever it is, it's going to take time, and it's not going to come super easy. And if you want it, you need to want what comes with it. It's a lot of stress. I don't get to sleep as much. I don't get peace of mind as much as other people. I'm always busy. I can't make plans. I can't go out as often, but I'm happy with decisions I make and I wouldn't trade for anything. And what I want to say is that people can do it. And if they just need to believe a little more, they can do it. Sometimes they always self-sabotage. They're like, yeah, I could start a business, but I'm pretty lazy. It's like, if you say you're going to be lazy the whole time, you're never going to make it. Like you want to always say positive things about yourself, and that it is possible for any single person to make it. And some people are starting off better than other people, but regardless, you want to not compare yourself to other people and just kind of move as best you can on your path.
All right. That was Maritz Neo. I said that right this time?
Yeah, perfect, man. I
All
appreciate
right.
you having me on, Ezra,
Yeah,
man. I
thank you
appreciate
so
lots.
much for coming on. All your socials will be linked in the description of this video, so you guys can go check that out. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. What a great chat. I think we covered some good topics. I think anyone that listens to this definitely gained some value. So hope everyone has a good day and get back to work, man. Good luck with everyone.
All right. See y'all.